having our audio echo in the back. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and we're going to get on with this podcast because it's going to go on for another fucking 5 minutes. God, we're fucking terrible at this. We're getting worse as well. It's not even getting better.
Yeah.
It's sort of funny now, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're supposed to get fucking better at this and just get on with it. It's funny, like, I'm doing it on purpose right now, but when Brent came on, last time, I think, the last episode we had with Brent was just like, yeah, we need to get on with this podcast. So, like, within 5 minutes of starting the call, we were already doing the podcast, and it was really, like, jarring and weird.
Right.
Because we'd never done that before.
Well, yeah, I think for Brent as well, it's like I got kids, like, I got shit to do.
He's got a life.
Let's get on with it, yeah.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 27 of Podcast Reload. It's the general gaming podcast by SIFTD.net subscribers, where we invite community guests onto the show to talk about the games industry in all its weird ways. I am your host, Vin Hill, and joining me, as always, is, of course, my co-host and fellow Japan dweller, Evan Piotrowski.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us as well, all the way from England, is the Imperialist, also known as Nick.
Hello.
Cool, so we haven't got any community updates or any feedback or anything, I don't think so. Did you check the comment section of the podcast? Anyone say anything last week?
Yeah, I did. I don't know. I would like to say a thank you to someone who, I don't remember who it was, but they had kind of asked in the comment section, I think of a game face, to Shane, as to why, like, this podcast wasn't being curated anymore.
Oh, right, yeah.
We just skipped like 2 weeks. So just, I don't remember who that was, but thank you for just showing a general interest in the podcast.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Thanks for even listening.
Yeah, we're still alive, as it were.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, cool. So moving right along, Nick, we've got a new game to play, dude.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, so we're going to play Save or Kill. In Save or Kill, I'll give you two things from the games industry. It can be a game, a person, it can be anything to do with the industry. And you have to choose to either save it or throw it into the gates of oblivion, and we never see it again. So you have to choose very wisely.
Oh, awesome.
So it's sort of a quick fire round. Are you ready, sir?
I am. Let's do this.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, number one, World of Warcraft or League of Legends?
World of Warcraft. Save. Definite save World of Warcraft.
All right, fair enough. Dark Souls or XCOM?
Dark Souls.
Ooh. Oh, man. Erebus Jones is going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, he's going to be pissed.
Yeah. It's like, what? Like, every time like anyone mentions anything on the site, Erebus is there. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, all right, whoa, okay. XCOM is the greatest game in Souls. Yeah, it is.
Without question. Okay. Every time. Dark Souls.
All right. Next question. Assassin's Creed or Prince of Persia? That's a juicy one.
Save Prince of Persia, I guess. I think we've seen enough AC, personally.
Fair play.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, with some caveats, but
I mean, I would like to see the
time.
Egypt one. If the last one's the Egypt one, then I'm cool.
Really, Egypt? Okay. There's no Japan, no love for Japan. No.
Well, I mean, the next one's supposed to be Egypt, right? So that's all.
Maybe.
You know.
I don't know. Well, maybe I do know, but I'm not going to say. It's a bit of an awkward one.
Yeah, you do know, and you're not telling us.
Yeah, I do know, but
maybe
I'm not going to say to them. All right, next one: Final Fantasy or Pokemon?
Oh fuck no!
Yes, pick one, sir. Which one's getting tossed to the gates?
Oh shit!
Yeah, this is the reaction that we're hoping for.
Yep.
Pikachu or Cloud? Pikachu or Cloud?
I'm going to save Pokemon purely because I think we've seen so many different iterations of Final Fantasy, and I feel like we're only now getting to the point where they're even considering changing Pokemon. So
it's kind of depressing thought, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what
like
I mean?
there's the possibility, there's more possibilities basically
with Pokemon.
I mean,
yeah, I can see that.
With Pokemon.
Yeah, I just feel like Final
Pokemon
Fantasy
Snap
has had
2
changes. And
Snap 2.
Pokemon Snap 2. Yeah.
By the way, how did Pokemon Snap 2 not come out for the Wii U? That
Good point.
system was
Or
made
3DS
for that
even. It's
game.
got a camera on it.
Yeah, like I
makes no
loved that
fucking
game when I
sense.
was a kid. Like trying to get with my friend Tony, we'd go through level over and over trying to get the perfect shot.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, anyway, next one. Miyamoto or Todd Howard?
Oh, save me a Miyamoto, definitely.
What, no more Skyrim or Oblivion or anything like that? Oh, okay.
I mean,
he's got to finish the consultation on the Nintendo themed Universal Studios deal.
Of course.
I just
yeah,
feel like
of course.
Miyamoto has done so much more for the industry.
True,
and,
very true.
Todd Howard is just polished an existing sort of idea, if you know what I mean.
Fair enough. Okay, speaking of industry icons, here's the last one. U-Ball or Phil Fish?
I mean, I don't know.
Which one do you want to save?
I'll say Phil Fish.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
There's probably a very an even more annoyed gamer out there listening. If he is, then yeah, he's gonna be very annoyed.
oh yeah. There's a history right there to unwrap.
Bit of history.
But,
Yeah. Long story short, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for that, man. It's a good little game. Got a couple of juicy ones in there for you.
No worries.
Cool. So moving on, we're going to be talking about what we've been playing this week. So we'll kick off right with you, Evan. What have you been playing this week, man?
I've been playing giant man-eating eagle.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Toriko.
Never heard of
Which
this
is-
game.
Yeah, which is what it's called in Japan.
Right.
I don't know which is better. I kind of like it. Like in Japanese, it sounds good,
Yeah.
but when you translate it into English, it
sounds
just
ridiculous.
doesn't. But
Yeah.
that might just be because that they called it The Last Guardian, so I have like a conflict in my head. Like, well, it has two names now, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, finally,
10 years
I
in the
got my
making, man.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, got my hands on this game. Actually, Tuesday I got home from work and I opened my mailbox, and that game and my SIFTD T-shirts were in my mailbox.
Oh,
The
nice.
same
nice.
day. It was yeah. It's probably the best Tuesday of my life. I mean, I don't really, I can't really recall many Tuesdays.
What day were you married on?
I was married on a Sunday.
Oh, you're all right then. Bullet dodged.
Yeah, bullet dodged. Oh yeah, definitely. Anyways, well, but yeah, finally, like, got my hands on The Last Guardian, and I beat it last night. I actually pushed really, really hard to get it done because I wanted to talk about it on the podcast, even though we're not going to talk about the ending or anything like that. But I think it's an absolutely beautiful game, and
Nice.
even a couple hours into it, it's one of those games where, yes, there are massive technical issues in that game.
Yeah.
At some points in that game, I like vocally, I think one time I was like, "What do you want me to do?" Like I was so fucking angry, like, just screaming at the wall. But
Right.
the beauty of that game is it shadows over any possible like blemish that it has. And I know, but I understand the idea of like that can go both ways, where some people can't get around the technical issues to see the other, the good aspects of the game. Like it can go both ways, but for me, what this game does just trumps anything. I don't even really want to use that word anymore. Anything bad about the game, and this is all very vague, but basically, like,
Just never go back, Evan.
yeah. It's I'm playing this game and I'm just wondering, like, why don't we have more games like this? Like, video
Yeah.
games are a thing that can be anything, but yet we have the same stuff or the same framing for, it's like your over-the-shoulder shooter or your FPS or your real-time strategy game, like, just very. But and then you have this game that just doesn't abide by like any rules that games have abided by.
Yeah,
And
you're totally
yeah.
speaking to me with that. I totally feel the same way. I've not even touched this game, but one question I want to ask you about it though is, does it nail atmosphere in the same way that the other games did?
Definitely, and just
Without
from the
a doubt.
from the opening segment and how the game starts, it's just like it's just something inside me. I was just watching this and smiling. I'm like, this is something that's special, and the way that you first interact with Toriko. What is it called in this? Is it Trico? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, it's Trico in English. And
Trico? Okay.
It's weird because the boy himself says Toriko like a lot.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
like,
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Did they change that in the Western version?
No,
he
they
says
didn't.
he says it like Toriko.
Yeah, it's really. Speaking of that, sometimes the boy will say the exact same things as what Iko used to say, and that like just brings a fucking huge smile on my face every time I hear it. Like the way the kid says "yada yada," I don't know what it means.
Oh.
There's no Japanese translation. I think it's actually Japanese backwards because that's what it was in Iko.
Some of it does sound Japanese, like what he's saying. Yeah, yeah.
But the way he says the exact same thing as that yada yada, it's like the exact same thing as what Iko used to say, and I was like, "Fuck yes, that's you're bridging the gap, Ueda. You're bridging it."
Yeah, and yeah, definitely the atmosphere is there, and I would say like this is people who are already against this game, like rolling their eyes at it. That's fine. Like I get why. People are like, why is this game that has never come out just like this internet darling? You know what I mean? Like I can see the cynical side of this, but me being the Shadow of the Colossus being my favorite game of all time, and Ico being a game that I hold very dear to my heart, I would say like Toriko as a character is one of the most memorable characters within like the last couple decades. Like this,
Yeah, I
you know,
agree.
when Game Informer, I think they did like the top 50 like gaming characters of all time thing. They had an article like a couple years ago. Like I would say like Toriko has to be on this list, like top 10. Like there hasn't been a character and I can see why this game took so long to make. Just like they must have, the AI is
Man. I mean, I would
absolutely
love
amazing.
I would love, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to see it. But I'd love to see the like the AI sort of node graph tree or whatever it is, like just showing all the variables of like how the thing actually thinks. Like I'm sure it'd be fucking huge and absolutely like the most intricate sort of piece of game design you've ever seen. But Jesus Christ, man, some of the things that creature does, it's just the way it looks at you sometimes, just like fuck that thing knows what I'm doing. And it's not like a scripted thing either. You could be anywhere doing anything. It just knows. And just the way it looks, like if it doesn't understand, like it'll tilt your head like a dog does sometimes. And just, it's creepy sometimes the way it looks at you. But yeah it's absolutely
It is like
amazing.
a perfectly finely tuned like Disney character. Like it's almost like they put out like a questionnaire and like what is the best way to make someone like attach themselves emotionally to a character? Like they checked all of the boxes, like
really
almost
did.
immediately. Just little things like after a battle, Toriko is agitated, and you have to actually console it by patting it, like either on its head or its body, to bring it down from its agitated state. And then like he's just kind of like jumping around. The feathers are like all standing up. And then the feathers slowly go down, and then he'll kind of turn around and look at you as you're like, like patting his back, and you're like, it's okay. It's like, oh, like those moments are just.
Those moments, yeah.
Or like there's puzzles in the game where you have to leave Toriko for a while, and then like find a switch to open a gate so that Toriko can come in, and as you're leaving, you hear him like whine like a dog, and you turn around and he just got those beady eyes, and just little things like how. If he hears something, like one ear will twitch, like he's perking his ear up just to the right, the direction the sound's coming from.
Yep.
And just like his body reacts in such a way that it's so lifelike. And I think that's what it is they've just created this character that they did such a good job with how it reacts to stuff and how it animates. And I mean, they must have just sat in a room and like studied dogs and cats for years and just finely tuned this thing. Yeah, it's. It's great.
I mean, I've been playing the same game as well, and just Jesus Christ. I mean, Eco is my favorite game of all time, and you can see there's a lot of Eco in this game, a lot more than there is Shadow of the Colossus, I would say, by far.
There's almost no Shadow of the Colossus, I would say.
Apart from riding around on Toriko, like that's probably the only Trico, sorry, depending. But yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely gobsmacked by the game. I can't believe I was actually able to play it finally. It's like I was saying earlier, where like I had the game on my system, it was downloaded, and I was just sat there looking at it, like on the day of release, just looking at it for a good 15 minutes, just like, geez, I'm actually going to fucking play this. Like it's been 8 years since it got announced at E3, and I'm actually going to open this thing and actually play it. So yeah, it was everything that I wanted it to be, apart from the technical issues, obviously. I mean, there's a couple of issues I've got with the game, other than the frame rates, like the fact that there's button prompts to the UI throughout the whole game. That sort of gets a bit old after a while.
Yeah, and you can't turn it off.
Can't turn it off. I'm sure it's going to come in a patch, but yeah.
Yeah, you're like 8 hours into the game, and it's like.
How to
pops
jump.
Up. Press circle to pick up a barrel. It's like I fucking know. Like I've picked up like 20 barrels over the last 8 hours. Yeah, and the thing is, the game doesn't give you time to figure it out. It'll pop up immediately, which is weird. Like I don't.
Right.
Were they worried about people not figuring that stuff out? Because
I don't know.
That seems silly to me, because like some of the puzzles are they're not easy. Like it takes a while to figure out. Most of the puzzles, I would say, you could figure out pretty quickly, like what to do.
The thing that I noticed, like as a versed sort of like Eco fan, the puzzles are a lot easier than they are in Eco by far. Like they're way easier. Some puzzles in Eco I was stuck on for days before I figured them out.
Oh yeah, they've taken they've figured out game design a bit better, like how to nudge a player in the right direction without being, completely obvious.
Yeah, and there's a couple of instances where they've taken a leaf out of like Uncharted's book, where they'll have like colored tiles in some places where you need to go. Like,
but then in other places they don't have them, which is weird.
They don't have that. It's inconsistent. Yeah. So I mean, I kind of like the inconsistency in that respect, because it's not like holding your hand a bit too much,
Yeah, I like the idea of it not always being there.
Yeah. Right.
I'd prefer to just be able to turn that off. Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love the game. I'm totally in love with it. The story was awesome. Like, it's a very, very clever ending as well. It's not something that I was expecting too much, but yeah, I mean, it's just a great game. You just got to play it a lot. That's the only thing I could say. I mean, if you are disappointed by technical issues, then that's going to be the kicker. I
totally get that, but like, I could go back to Shadow of the Colossus now.
Same.
And I've made my peace with the controls, I guess you could say.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm okay with a lot of that stuff, even though I was yelling at the TV. I'll say one thing. A lot of people complained, at least on podcasts that I've heard, that they complained that Toriko doesn't do what you want it to. And
I hate that complaint. I hate it. That's the whole point of the game. He's not meant to do what you're telling him to do straight away.
Yeah, but Vin, you know what the funny thing is I never had that issue. Like, sometimes Toriko will not react to what you're asking it to do immediately. Mm-hmm. But I'm talking like 10 or 20 seconds. I'm not...
Right, yeah.
The issue that people are bringing up where, like, I told Toriko to go this way, and he, like, did the opposite thing, and I was stuck on a place for 3 minutes because he wouldn't make the jump. It's like, that never happened to me.
It happened to me a couple of times, but I never got annoyed, because in the first half of the game, Toriko doesn't really respond to all of your commands, like, at all, that much. Like, he'll just do what he wants a lot of the time. And like,
you
understand
the first,
that, though.
like, hour or two, he's like that.
Yeah, he's a wild animal. Like, that's exactly what he's meant to do. Like, sometimes, okay, like, I want him to jump up there, and you're like you're calling his name. It's like, all right, how the hell do I get him to... And you're learning the game, and Toriko's learning you, and when he finally does jump up there, like, all right, we've made a thing here, and you feel it. You actually feel that, all right, we pushed through this, and we've made this line of communication. But then there's other people out there that are just saying, oh, you'd never listen to me, so I hate this game. It's like, oh, fuck you guys. Like, I don't get that.
I never had that issue. And the relationship is, the way that it builds, it's totally earned. So those emotional
definitely.
moments that come later in the game, it's totally earned the way that they start the relationship and the story beats of how it gets better. And I don't know, like this could be the entire podcast for me. But
Same.
you know, like there's been a lot of people that haven't played it that want to play it. I'm sure Nick including.
Yeah.
So kind of want to talk in.
I mean, I have just
riddles.
one simple, like non-spoiler question that can be answered as a yes or no that I'd like to
Make or
ask.
break. Yeah.
And that is, do the environments change, and is there any kind of like change in color palette of the space that you spend time in?
Yes and yes.
Awesome. That's all I need to know.
I was worried about that as well, because Eco is very similar in that respect. But you'll learn, because basically, without spoiling it, you basically start from the bottom of this citadel. Basically, you start from the bottom and you're working your way up. And as you go up, you can you can look down at the old areas where you used to be, and you're looking up at the areas that you go into, and just they're vastly different a lot of the time. I don't know how you feel about that, Evan. Did you get that impression as well, or?
I don't know. I kind of would say like it doesn't really change that much. It's
Okay.
So we're kind of at odds here.
No, that's.
I
the whole
think
point,
it's
yeah.
a lot of it's ruins and then like plant life kind of growing over ruins. It seems like that's the main
Yeah, I think
aesthetic of the
aesthetically.
game.
Yeah, aesthetically, it's always ruins, but at the same time, like the design of the areas. I think I'm thinking like a bit. I've got like my game dev hat on, sort of thing, when it comes to this.
Well, yeah,
Like the actual
I mean,
areas themselves are different. You know, physically, like the way you maneuver around a lot of the places, like they'll change quite a lot.
right?
Yeah,
not-
there are
not a crazy amount.
changes like that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
but
that's what I'm
aesthetically
really
it doesn't
asking
change.
is just like, will my eyes get tired of seeing the same thing? If you know what I mean, like.
Oh, when you put it that way, I would say no.
No,
Right.
it's like on it, like towards the last half of the game. Just to wrap this up, the last half of the game, just the scale of things and the where you are and the way you're looking around and stuff. It's just absolutely mind blowing. Some of the scenery and it does change quite a bit. So
Awesome.
yeah, try it out. But yeah, anyway, we should move on.
To wrap a bow on this, I was playing this game. I'm like, I really wish they would just make Shadow of the Colossus 2 as well. Like,
Yeah,
because you're looking at some of the assets and they're just very, very similar stuff to their previous two games, and just looking at some, especially the scale, right, of some of this stuff. I'm just like, oh god, imagine. Even if they just remade the game like HD PS4 remake
It'll happen.
with the assets from The Last Guardian, like
4K.
I'm just looking at that like, oh my god, would Shadow of the Colossus look amazing? But anyways, yeah, it's I get okay. So let's wrap a bow on this. It was worth the wait, and I'm very, very happy with the game.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm in the exact same boat. We waited 8 years, and I don't regret the wait. Basically, it's an amazing game. It's probably my game of the year, I would say, definitely. It does have some technical issues. Now, like if you're annoyed by like camera issues or frame rate, then you're probably going to get annoyed by this game. But if you can look past that and just look at the story and look at the game for what it is, then you'll absolutely love it. So
Yeah.
I would definitely
the camera is fucking terrible. I will say that. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. The camera is horrible.
For sure.
And
I mean, there are like the only thing that I will defend is when Todeko doesn't do what he's supposed to do, quote unquote, then you have to be patient with the game, and you will get a lot back from it, sort of thing. And the only other thing which a lot of people are complaining about is the character controller, the way the kid moves. But I will say he feels like a kid. Like when you're moving him around, he feels like a child, and that's exactly what he is. So I will defend that part of it. But other than that, man, the story is beautiful, the world is beautiful. It's an amazing game. So I can't give it enough praise. But yeah, anyway, we should move on. Nick, what have you been playing this week, man? Sorry.
So, speaking of games we've been waiting for, the only game I've really been playing off stream is Final Fantasy 15.
All right, give us the rundown.
Give us a rundown.
I'm a Final Fantasy fan, but I'm in kind of like the hangover stage of Final Fantasy relationship. I don't know.
I'm in the exact
Right.
same position as you, Evan. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a game that's such an easy target to be hated on. You know, I think like anything that has taken this long to come out, and anything that not just has taken that long, but we've also seen trailers of for so long, and we also like know it kind of was another game at one point, and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to hate on, but some of the stuff that like isn't really being elaborated on are like other things that I would say are positive about the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually really enjoying myself. And yeah, I've been having a really good time playing Final Fantasy 15. And I guess it's mainly just down to, I feel like it's just a fun place to spend time. You know, it's like a fun world to be
I see what
in.
you mean.
And
How far along are you in the game?
I'm about 20 hours in.
Okay.
So I've been like trying to like withhold like too much like critical opinion of it until it's finished, because I think I will make a video on it. You know.
Of course. Yeah.
But like I actually I'm having a really good time, and I just think that, you know, a lot of the stuff that people are complaining about is like totally valid, but at the same time, it's kind of like all stuff that I've kind of come to expect out of a lot of Japanese games in recent years.
But you like all this silliness, right? You like the more silly, the better for you. I remember you talking about it last time you were on the podcast. So.
Exactly. I think like I said last time I was on, I think I said something like, I'm sure Final Fantasy 15 is going to be the like weirdest, goofiest mess, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. I think I said something on those lines. And,
That's the one. Yeah, I remember that.
And honestly, that's not far off. I like that it's something a little different, and I feel like out of all these Japanese RPGs that are going like more action orientated, stuff like Xenoblade Chronicles X and stuff like that, out of all these Japanese games that do that sort of thing, like it is a really good example of that. And if it just wasn't called Final Fantasy, I think people would probably feel a lot different about it.
Yeah, I do often question that. Like, if it didn't have Final Fantasy on the title, would more people praise this game or just not care about this game, or vice versa? Would it have sold like 5 million units in its first week like it did if it didn't have Final Fantasy on it? You know,
that's it. I think it wouldn't have sold, but it would have like be more of a critical darling, I think, if it just had a different name. You know,
that is the kicker, isn't it?
I don't know. It seems like most people have reviewed this game positively, don't you think?
I do, but I just think that even in the reviews, they kind
of right, yeah.
You know, that they're not really.
The reviews
like,
are very weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Matt said on Game Face last week. It's like most of the reviews are just a list of things wrong with the game with an 8 or a 9 at the end or whatever.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
That is kind of true, and that's. And I feel like maybe I've not really articulated why it's fun, because I think the gameplay is really fun in this game, and I enjoy the grind of like, okay, I'm not going to
the gameplay loop.
Yeah, I enjoy just making that decision sometimes in RPGs where you go, I'm just not going to do the main quest. I just want to spend time hunting monsters or doing side quests. And when you do that with Final Fantasy 15, I think it's really fun. I think the graphics are awesome. I think people are being kind of nuts and hyperbolic when they say it looks like a game from the PS3, because I think it looks really good. And,
I think it's the exact same thing is happening with The Last Guardian. Like, there's a lot of people out there say, "Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous, it's a beautiful game." And then there's other people say, "Oh, it looks like a PS3 game." Well, I think the same thing is happening in Final Fantasy 15 because they've reused like PS3 assets. Sometimes you'll see a texture or a model and like, that is definitely from the PS3. And then there's other things which are, that's definitely for the PS4. And they haven't taken all the bits out, so I think there's going to be a lot of mixed sort of opinions on that. I don't think that's ever going to go away. So.
I mean, I think I guess I know we need to move on, but I guess the last couple of things I would say is that like, you know, I'm not crazy. There are issues with the game, but like, I think Final Fantasy is a franchise that is so big and has such a large audience. I think within it there are probably 3 or 4 different target audiences that all want different things.
Right.
Sure.
And I could not tell you which one this is serving. But as somebody that just enjoys something a little bit different, and still enjoys AAA polish, because it is, you know, you can see the budget in this game compared to a lot of stuff that comes out of Japan now, which we're just stopping to see. And you know, the single most legit complaint is the car, but like it actually, you don't have to spend that much time doing that, and in no time you get a chocobo. And once you get access to the chocobo, they control awesome and almost move just as fast if you want that kind of thing. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying it, but you know, it's also definitely not the best game I've played this year. But I feel like a great game, it's still okay to say it's not the best game ever, and I think that's what some people want to hear. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the important thing. Like you're sounding like you're going to carry on playing the game, so it must be good enough to finish it at least. So that's right. That's a good sign. Exactly. So even if it isn't Game of the Year, it doesn't mean it isn't a good game. But yeah,
final question: is it better than Final Fantasy 13?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, any game is better than Final Fantasy 13. Let's be honest. Let's not be around that bush. All right, then, moving on. Anyway, we're going to dive straight into Nick's topic this week. So, Nick, do you want to give us a rundown of what you want to talk about this week?
So, basically, very recently, our friend came around to my house, and he brought some games to play. And the game we actually ended up playing was Cthulhu. I think it's called Dark Corners of the Earth on the original Xbox.
Oh, Jesus, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Wow. Did you had a original Xbox set up in your house?
Yes. I have many consoles set up in my house. But we ended up putting this game on anyway, and he actually brought it round because he listened to my podcast where we spoke about first-person horror games, and he was like, this is also a really old game that kind of does that thing that's becoming more modern now and more sort of trending, as it were, you know, in the independent development community. And we spent some time with the game. And anyway, long story short, I just had a really good time. And then out of curiosity, I thought I would look up the review scores. And they kind of like, they weren't that great. Do you know what I mean? Like, they wasn't really bad. But like it was, I can't remember where it sits now on Metacritic, but I think it's like an 8 something, and some reviews were like a 7 something, and then it just got me thinking that I was like, man, like sometimes the way I talk about Resident Evil, people look at me like I'm crazy.
Right.
I kind of feel like
it doesn't deserve the praise you give it. Type of thing, or?
Yeah. And especially like looking back. I feel like those games get like criticized a lot more now than they did in the day, and it's kind of just got me thinking. Like, I think I'm a fan of a lot of games where, you know, either the scores, that there might not be 9s or whatever, or even 8s in some cases, and also like a lot of games that, you know, people would say time has not been kind to, let's say.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, you know, some games get great scores when they come out, but years later, their like popular gaming opinion slides into the negative a bit, and then other games, you know, come out and inevitably, like, are getting kind of overscored. Do you know what I mean? Just because they're a new thing, and then it's just, and you sometimes when a game comes out, you can just see that no, like people aren't going to be talking this way about this game in the future.
Right.
So it just got me thinking, like, do you guys play any games where like the Metacritic's like lower than an 8, say, or even just games that you feel like people aren't very kind to on the internet?
Oh, for sure. I think we've all got them games in our collection where everyone else hated it, but you loved it, and it's like your little guilty pleasure or whatever. I mean, I had on the Xbox 360, one of my favorite games on that system was one of the launch games, actually. I think it was a launch game. It might not have been. And it was Tenchu Z or Tenchu Z, depending on where you are.
Yeah, I loved that game.
It was a fucking stinker. It was a terrible game. I totally admit that. It looked horrible. It played horrible. Everything about it was horrible. But I loved it. And I don't know why, but I just did. And I played it, and I almost maxed it out, like with the achievements and stuff. You go and look at Metacritic. It got a 56 on Metacritic.
Oh, man.
It absolutely bombed. So, like, to even suggest that you shouldn't play a game because it tanked, you shouldn't always disregard them in that respect, I guess. But I think we probably all got a game like that. I mean, have you got one, Evan? Like, have you got a stinker in the collection, as it were?
See, here's the thing. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm trying to think of a game that I've played recently that
God, Evan's one of those pompous
hates.
guys. He only plays the good games.
Yeah.
No,
actually,
56.
let me throw that to Nick. How about? I'll jog my memory. How about yourself? Like, what is a game that you absolutely love that just hasn't necessarily been, the Metacritic darling?
Well, I mean, things like that Cthulhu game come to mind. I think it's awesome, and playing it now, it really feels like it could have easily inspired a lot of trends in horror games right now. Also, things like Silent Hill 4, The Room, which we actually spoke a little about before the podcast.
Oh shit! Yeah, let's talk about that game. Silent Hill 4 is great, I think.
Right. Right, and it's known for being like the worst Silent Hill game, basically. A lot of people really don't like that game, but...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think, Nick, we also kind of talked about the idea of it's never in the conversation when referring to Silent Hill as a series. It's always 1, 2, 3, mostly 2, but like no one talks about The Room, and I think that game did some stuff that was ahead of its time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think you had actually mentioned on your podcast about the idea of like a first-person horror game aspect to where you're kind of there's parts in that game where you're in the room, and the further the game goes on, your apartment, which was your safe zone in between, traveling to the other world, actually becomes an enemy to where it's dangerous and there's not really anything you can... there's things you can do to kind of... so basically, like, some of the ghosts start coming through the wall in your room, and there's no way to defend yourself. You can only... what is it, like potions or like some sort of like incense that you like leave around your room? Like how did that work?
It was you just go and light some incense, I believe, is literally it. But I mean, this is great to hear. Honestly, this is like really comforting to hear that I'm not crazy, if you know what I mean. Oh god, sorry, I just forgot. Oh yeah, so one of the other games that comes to mind actually is Mafia 2, because I feel like Mafia 2 is one of the best examples of how a game can tell a story. And I feel like nobody says that about that game. I feel like almost nobody feels that way.
Okay, I never played it.
I mean, there's probably an example for every single gamer out there has probably got one game which just, it meant something to them. I mean, it's like I sort of think about that sometimes. Like if Eco was around, if Eco was released when Metacritic was around,
right?
So I think like how would it have like got reviewed by like the mainstream? Because like right now on Metacritic it's got like a 90 or something,
right?
But would it have got a 90 if it came out today, sort of thing? It wouldn't. It probably would have got a 7 or something. It's like, oh, there's no UI and stuff like this. It would just get absolutely destroyed probably on some certain levels.
Right.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say I do actually have a few questions. On this line, and so like bearing that stuff in mind, like how much do you really feel that like review scores actually affect what games you buy and what games you spend your money on?
It's tough. I mean, like if I see a 7 out of 10, I'll go and read a few reviews. If I see games
Right.
that are getting 9s, because it depends. Because there's a lot of people out there that just look at the scores. Like we spoke about this with like a previous guest, but like they'll only look at the scores and you won't read the review, and that
Right.
is like that's a big no for me. Like you have to read the review, otherwise you
Of
won't.
course, yeah.
You won't get the full picture. And like Final Fantasy 15 is a great example. You know, the fact that is getting 9s, but all the reviews are just throughout the whole review are just absolutely destroying it, saying, "Oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." But I really enjoy it because of this. And then it gets a 9 out of 10. It's like that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, like, if it's just like a normal review and they're saying good and bad points about it, and it's like 7 out of 10s everywhere, then I'll read the review and then I'll sort of establish like if those things which they have gripes about would like annoy me. And if they do, then I'm probably a bit more inclined to not grab the game. But yeah, I mean, but if it's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, like most of the time, I sort of understand like the community or the zeitgeist are sort of, you know, they've accepted it as a quote unquote good game. So, you know, I'm more inclined to look at it if the reviews are a bit lower. But I'd never just dismiss a game, if that makes sense. Like I'd never,
Sure.
if it got a 6 out of 10, I wouldn't automatically be like, well, that's a stinker. I'm not even going to read the review. Like I'm still gonna like if I was remotely interested in it, then I'd still read the review. But yeah, like
Right.
how about you? How about you?
Well, one thing for me is, and I think The Last Guardian is a good example of this, although I'm actually a bit surprised that it's been as well received. I'm not surprised, but I just thought
No, I'm the exact same way. Man.
the
I know
weight,
exactly what you mean.
right? The
Yeah.
weight was going to be its downfall, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And all these glowing reviews came out for it, but everyone is really, really kind of harping on the technical issues, which I totally get. If you are someone that just simply can't play a game that controls, frankly, as poorly as this game does at times, I get where you're coming from. But for me, I kind of like, I was never worried about this game, Vin. I don't know about you. Like once we knew that the game was coming out and it was going to be released this year, I wasn't really worried about it. Like
I wasn't worried about the game itself. Like this is a weird. Like I've had this conversation with a couple of people this week, but I was never worried about the game, like as me enjoying it. But I was worried that the reviews were gonna trash it. Like I knew, I just accepted.
Actually, I was in that sense. I was worried as well. I thought it was going to get.
Yeah, I was
per se.
fully expecting it to be like a 7 out of 10 on Metacritic, like 100%. Like the fact when I saw the first 9 last Tuesday, I was like, okay, this is unexpected. And then the second 9 came out, and then a 10 came out, and then IGN gave it a 7. I was like, okay, there it is. Like I was waiting for it because I knew this game would have a PS2 quote unquote feel to it, you know.
Right.
Like I knew it wasn't going to control great. We saw previews where people were complaining about the camera. Like I knew there was these technical issues behind it, so I just automatically assumed that Metacritic was going to trash it, and they didn't, which was surprising to me because I really thought they would. So it's strange. Like it depends on the reviewer, but like Final Fantasy 15 and The Last Guardian are great examples of how divisive critics can actually be.
Totally.
Like. Because there's a lot of games out there that like get 8s across the board. It'll get 7s across the board. But Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15 have split so many people apart. It's crazy like how diverse the actual reviews have been. So that's been kind of refreshing in that respect. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Right.
it's and then on the other end, so I kind of figured like no matter what people say, I think I'm going to like this game. Like I was always confident in that. Like this is the game for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And if people complain about certain issues what they have with the game, I'm kind of okay with that. But I know like Shadow of the Colossus being my favorite game of all time, I was going into this knowing that. But on the other end of the spectrum, Final Fantasy 15 was getting a lot of really, really like 8s and 9s.
Yeah, this is the
kind of
weird
across
one,
the
isn't it?
board. Yeah, it's totally weird. And then I'm looking at this and I don't buy into it. So like what,
Right.
you know, it's
Yeah,
weird
the
that
double
my mind is
standard,
working
right?
this way. Yeah. Like I still
Wow.
have my guard up in you know,
I
when it
think-
comes to Final Fantasy 15.
I think, yeah, we have very different perspectives then on games media, I guess, because I kind of feel like most outlets these days, like, will give a review to that franchise's yes man in the office, and like, unless
I know exactly what you're talking
unless that guy's busy, which is when a game like that will get a lower score. I think that guy's probably busy. Do you know what I mean?
The same thing happens when a Dark Souls comes out or a new Souls game like Bloodborne or whatever. Every single time they'll hand it off to the guy. He likes Dark Souls, so he can review it. And then Dark Souls gets absolutely raving reviews, and then people out there go and buy it, and they're like, I don't really like this game. I don't know why it got reviewed so high. And it's like, yeah, we know why, but yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think Shane, the not Curious Conjurer, but Shane Satterfield, he had kind of mentioned about Final Fantasy 15 that probably the people that reviewed this game in all the major outlets were like self-professed Final Fantasy fans. So it kind of gets that JRPG fan bump.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, so then here's the issue, or here's a question about that is, do you give a game to the self-professed fan of insert genre / game here because they know the audience that they're going to be speaking to? Or do you, like, why would you give a JRPG to someone who doesn't like JRPGs because they're going to trash it?
Yeah.
So, like, where's the middle ground in terms of who you delegate what review to?
I've always said, I understand that, like, outlets are, they're not, like, swimming in gold or whatever, like, they haven't got, like, a load of money to give to people to have multiple people review a game, but, like, hopefully one day when the industry gets big enough and people are earning enough money from journalism to do this stuff, they should definitely start looking at maybe hiring 2 people to review a game, one that hates, well, not hates, but one that is opposed to that sort of game, and one that is for it. So, and then afterwards they have like a democratic discussion and debate it out and actually
that is a really
interesting
interesting way to go about it. Yeah.
EGM actually used to do that stuff though, right? Like, I think like EGM used to have games where it was like 5 different reviewers for one game and have a little quote and a number by it.
right.
I think I'd like put. I know I totally get what you're saying, because that's like a way to go, and that probably like would make a big difference. But I kind of just feel that like the way reviews are now is kind of just the way reviews are, and that gaming opinion has never been like more important to the industry, and that like the people that are reading reviews now, I think are stuck in the way that it is, and I think to anyone else who like kind of wants to know more details, which I think kind of sounds like all of us from what we're saying, like I think it's important to try and look for as many people on the internet that have different views on things. Like, I think it's important to like watch Game Face, for example, and know that those guys don't like Final Fantasy 15, and then try and find somebody that does like it, and then from then onwards listen to both of those opinions every time a new JRPG comes out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's down to like not putting yourself in that bubble as a gamer. Like if you, obviously we know certain Nintendo fanboys out there that will only like look at certain outlets. They'll be like, oh, okay, I'm only going to listen to this one person. Oh, I got a 10 out of 10 because it's a 10 out of 10 amazing game. And then there's other outlets that are like, yeah, it's not that great. It's not that. Yeah, don't go near this thing. But I think everyone has got them little bubbles. But you're right. It's down to gamers to sort of explore different routes, and even if they don't agree with you, like, you should still listen to them just to see what they actually have to say, because it could sort of level it out. And that's sort of what Metacritic is. Like, it sort of takes all the reviews and evens them all out. And as divisive as like all the Last Guardian reviews and Final Fantasy 15 reviews have been, ironically they are both sat exactly at 84 each. So they're
I
reviewing
was
the
just going to bring that up, yeah.
And that's
and it's crazy, right?
That does perfectly. Like, we couldn't summarize up the point that we're trying to say. Like, everything we've just been talking about for the last like 15 minutes or so on this topic, I think that perfectly summarizes what we're saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, that at the end of the day, there's plenty of outlets out there. It's all down to you as a gamer to actually listen to multiple opinions, and even if you don't always agree with people, it's like me. I disagree and I dislike Jimquisition, fucking Jim Sterling. Like I really, I really don't agree with a lot of stuff that he says, but I'll listen to his stuff quite often. I don't agree. Like the whole time I'm watching his stuff, I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree. No, shut up. No, like the whole time.
Like to the point of becoming kind of frustrated.
Yeah,
and,
kind of pissed
and
off
a bit
and frustrated.
angry, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll sit there but the important thing is I'll still watch it till the end and I'll listen to what he has to say. Like I don't agree with him, but I respect that he has an opinion. And
Totally.
it's important to sort of take that in.
Well,
So all gamers
definitely. I mean,
need to have that.
that's with anything really too. Like confirmation bias is bad
sure.
because
For sure.
you develop a bubble and that's not good for conversation. You know, you should be able to have a conversation about Final Fantasy 15 about what's good about it and also what's bad and why you should buy the game and why it's not worth $60. You know what I mean? Like you should be
Totally
not for everything, but you should be able to argue both points. And like for most things, not for most things, but just when it comes to video games, let's just keep it on video games. Like I read and look at, and thank God for SIFTD because it puts everything right there for us to see the good and the good, the bad, and the ugly with the game, and it's important to understand why something's bad or why something's good, and be able to have a conversation about it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I could quite easily, like, as a Team Eco, like, super fan, you know, like, Eco is my favorite game of all time. Shadow of the Colossus is, like, near and dear to my heart. Like, I love absolutely everything them guys do. I could have quite easily have ignored IGN's review. I could have quite easily ignored the other, like, Jim Sterling's review. He gave The Last Guardian a 6.5. I think it was one of the lowest. And just gone and looked at like Hardcore Gamer that gave it a 10 out of 10, or I could have gone read Eurogamer that gave it an Essentials rating, which is like their highest, so it was like pretty much a 10 out of 10 from them.
Yeah, Easy Ally is 5 stars, you know.
Exactly. Like I could have easily gone into that bubble, but the fact that I went out of that and still said, okay, let's go and have a look, and I can respect the fact that it's got its problems. I know that, but it's just about being a sensible gamer, as it were, and just going to look at different things. So, yeah.
That's just to put a note at the end of that. That's actually exactly why I changed my username to the Impartialist on SIFTD, and why that's now my handle. Because I feel like that's what I've got to do with everything, you know.
That was definitely the bow on top. Cool. So coming up to the end of the podcast, actually, well, because we had a massive talk about The Last Guardian at the start of the show, so we're gonna skip out on our what would have been the second topic, because I think we've talked quite a lot this week. So it was a good discussion about reviews. Something.
Yeah, it was worth it. I will gladly cut a topic to talk about The Last Guardian.
Yeah, because you're editing this week, right?
Yeah, any day of the week.
Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about The Last Guardian for days, and I'm sure there's people out there that could talk about Final Fantasy 15 for days. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So coming up to the end, just want to say a massive thank you for Nick joining us once again on Podcast Reload. Really appreciate it, man. It's really cool to have you on.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah, I've been watching a bit of your streams now and then. Like if I have time at work and if you pop up live, then I'll go and watch. Like I was watching your Halloween special that you had on, your 5 days of horror, was it? I can't remember what you called it.
Oh right, yeah, 7 days of horror. Yeah, I remember you.
7 days. Sorry.
Was it Slender?
Ben, you fucked it up.
I know, right? Oh, I was trying to plug it properly.
Don't worry about it. Slender, I think I was playing right when you showed up.
Yeah, that was
fun.
But yeah, that was cool. And it looks like you're doing well with that stuff. So you're having fun with it.
Oh,
yeah, actually. Yeah, speaking of man, since you've last been on, which was our E3 talk, I mean, you've had a lot of stuff in the works. So what have you been doing? Any Twitter handles or plugs or anything like that?
Yeah, plug away.
Oh, sure. Yeah, basically, I'm streaming at twitch.tv/the Impartialist every Monday, Friday, and Sunday, 7 p.m. till midnight GMT, and they're all different themes. So I do Make Stuff Monday, Fantasy Friday, and Sci-Fi Sunday, and then
nice.
I also recently I was struggling with my schedule to keep up doing the podcast every week, which I'm sure you guys can appreciate. And
oh yeah, we know what that is.
So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
decided to take the podcast live as well, just to like make me commit to what I say, so I don't have to edit. And yeah, so that's live.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah, like the amount of screw-ups we have in this, and we're like, let's just stop and edit this bit out. Can't do that live.
Just wait until you come on the show, guys. It's going to be a right laugh.
Oh
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Anytime. Like, if I can ever go on a podcast where we don't have to edit it or make some fucking template for it, like, I'm all for it, dude. Like, anytime.
Awesome.
Yeah, just
Well,
like in and out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it gets crazy. You know, mistakes get made, and like maybe it's not as good as the best episode edited, but I think it's like more consistent this way, and it just adds something a little to the users. So it's been really cool, and I've found that like there are people that just like watching the streams that now are interested in the podcast. So that's cool,
Sure.
and that happens anyway at midnight on midnight GMT on Thursday nights, and as usual, like I've been doing from the beginning, I always like try and give sifters like priority on questions and stuff like that. But yeah, it'd be cool to get you guys on the show on future episodes.
Be happy to get on.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to sign off with our Twitter handles and all that sort of stuff. So Evan, what is your Twitter handle and any sign off you got?
You can find me at the Stand User on Giant Bomb Sifted and Twitter.
Twitter.
Sorry, too much Bill Burr. But yeah,
It was a shout out for
that's it.
Bill.
Yeah, Bill Burr. Yep, yeah, just the Stand User. Vin, how about yourself?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter. I am at VinHillArt. You can find me and some of my finger paintings on there from time to time.
Oh,
Bitching
by the
away.
way, I liked your kind of lunch break
Oh yeah,
sketch of like a valley with all those
yeah.
air
Yeah,
dunes.
that's
That was
really
really
cool.
cool, man. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I've got a lot more stuff coming over the next couple of months. I'm going to be basically building a whole new portfolio. So, because I'm actually moving to America and I'm going to be looking for work again, so I want to boost up my skills, as it were. So, I've got a lot more stuff coming. So, if you are interested in any like concept art or anything, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter, and you will see some of the okayness that is my artwork.
Oh, you're definitely an artist. Just never. I
know a lot better people. That's my problem. Like every time someone says, "Oh, you're really good," it's like, yeah, but you haven't seen the guys which I know. It's hard to compete sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get a lot better over the next few months. But yeah, Nick, did you give out your Twitter handle just now?
No, you can follow me on Twitter and pretty much everywhere at The Impartialist.
Sweet. So Google The Impartialist. I'm sure you'll find Nick. It's a very unique name, which is pretty cool. It's hard to come by those things these days. So
Right.
well played
Right,
in
yeah.
that department. I'll give you that. But yeah,
Thanks,
from
man.
us. Oh, it's all right. From us here at Podcast Reload, just want to say a massive thank you for tuning in. And if you do want to be on the podcast, then make sure you message us either on SIFTD or at Twitter. You can find the actual podcast on Twitter now. On Twitter. At podcast_reload. You can find us there. And if you send us a message, we'll try and get you on the show as soon as possible. Because our list is pretty thin and we're pretty much working from week to week now. But we've never not had someone on the show. So it's always good.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. Well, we always pull through, as it were. So if you do want to be on the show, then just let us know and we'll try and get you on there straight away. But yeah, from us here at Podcast Reload, thank you again for tuning in, and you can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Anywhere else? Where else are we?
I don't know.
That's it, right? Yeah, we're around. Just Google us. We'll probably be there. But yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening, and may all your guardians be the last ones.
May all your fantasies be final.
Oh, that's
Right.
Isn't that all right? I think we're
Yeah,
good
anyway,
with
let's
the
go on
recording
with
here.
But yeah, anyway.